Hello and welcome back to Maggie May and Mag at Mags 127. So get yourself a cup of tea and it's time for another one of my stories. It's called Real Life, you know. So get yourself a nice cup of tea, a nice cup of coffee, a cold drink. The weather is very my hand looks a bit gammy because I have the osteoarthritis and the hand collapses. That's all I can say. The fingers collapse. Oh, I love a cup of tea. Well, not a cup of tea, a big mug of tea in my case. This is a mug that a friend gave me many years ago. God rest his soul. He's no longer with us. Sadly, he died in a house fire. I never knew what had happened to him, but God love him. He's in heaven now and he's with God. Now, what I want to talk about today is, about the upbringing, about the poor upbringing we had, about what way we turned out in life. So I'd be wondering, like, I'm a normal person. I'll say it the way it is. I I always like to talk about things and bring it out in the open. I think that the Irish cover an awful lot of things, sweep it under the carpet, and they're fake. That's what they are. They're fake. Um, and I don't know if other countries do it, other people do it, but they're fake. They're not being true to themselves. It's about living beyond your means or living um, dishonestly. Whether you're working, whether you're not working, whether you're at home with kids, being true to yourself and the person that you are and your childhood, what way that made you. Like, I smoke now, so I'm not going to make any, what you call it, any excuses to anyone. This is me, and I do what I want. And with your life, no matter what happened in your life, you try and make the best of it, going forward. That's all very fine, for the ones that are able to do that. You know, rearing kids is no easy task. Um, Dressing them and feeding them and not knowing what's coming at you next with school books and stuff, and then their behaviour when they go out playing and they come in. I had to be mother and father, you know. I had to be mother and father, and by God, that was no easy job for anyone. Just not for the weak hearted. Looking back, you know, it would have been a different story if I had known. But it's like when we were young as children, when you go into school and you'll see the children. But I'm talking about the way, what you become um, from a child. What you become. Do you become a bully? Because the ones that become bullies, I find, have the most problems, you know. They do have the most problems because they want to be better and they want to look good and they want this, that, and the other thing to look good. And they'll get it by any means. They'll get it by bullying you. If you're a nice, quiet child, you know, And bullying takes different forms. It can be through nasty speaking to someone as a child, to bullying them on the playgrounds. It takes many forms. And when I was a child, I would just sit on the bench in the playgrounds. I couldn't really run because of as I spoke in the previous video, because of my legs. My leg would give out if I tried to run, so I'd have to sit a lot on the bench. And then, you know, but I seen it in the classroom and I seen it around the place. Children could be bullies, and that bullying affects you into the later years in life. Now, you were already brought up poor, then you went to school, and then you were bullied. Um, Not so much with me, but in a different way. You see, bullying takes many forms. You know, so it does take many forms. As a child, you are quiet and you don't understand it, and then you get older, and then the family are bullying you and telling you you should do this way and that way. So you have too many, what you call, too many that stir the pot. And then you're confused. They're giving you advice that they don't practice in their own life. And that's the issue I had. It's the reason I stood back from the narcissistic family. They were deadly. Absolutely. Unreal. Horrible. I stood back from them because I seen the way they were. Um, they'd they'd lie. And they'd use you as a scapegoat because you were the quiet one. You see, when you're the quiet one, you're the easy target. So they'll ask, you know, they'll you'll be the one that'll get all the, the talked about, stabbed in the back. And then you'll hear it from another family member that'll tell you what they said about you. And you have to take all that on, and you're just young, you know, you're young. And what happens is you get angry. You get angry and hurt and cry, and there's not a thing you can do about it. But as I learned was to step back from them people. Protect yourself, stand back from them. Because there's some of them still out there that say they have changed, and they have not changed, you know. They have not changed. And what happened with me was then, when I suffered with the panic attacks, that it was all brought on by the life I had and the narcissistic family. The panic attacks came on badly. And then I would have to go into hospital for maybe about 5 days. I probably said this in my previous video, for a recharge of my batteries, where I would have a nice little room and I'd have other ladies to talk to, and I wouldn't have to be worrying. I could sleep because I have insomnia. I've never been a morning person. Um, it's because the trauma used to start late at night that it ruined my sleeping. They tried to give me sleeping pills to help, but it didn't work. So I, I just said no, no, thank you. But I became feisty. I started standing up for myself. Now, I thought I was turning into one of them by doing that. but I wasn't. I found that I was on my own when I stepped back, and I had to do things my way. That wasn't going to be to hurt other people, but to protect myself from the family and from other people that were bullies. If they just marked you, you know, they just spotted that you were different, you were quiet and sensitive. So now I don't let anyone walk all over me. If it's a doctor, if it's a nurse, I I will have my say. If I don't want something done to my body, excuse me, I will just say it out. Um, I just refuse to have anyone bully me, push me around, as they say, because even recently, there a few days ago, I went to the opticians to have my glaucoma diagnosed the second time because the HSE weren't too believing, you know, because I had changed opticians. And before I went, I rang the optician and I told him, well, I told the secretary that I didn't want any drops put into my eyes of any sort because I had a bad experience many years ago with a specialist who put drops in my eyes and I couldn't see a thing, and it was a very frightening experience. So I was done with them. As far as I was concerned, I was done with the drops in my eyes, except for if I had some sort of infection, I'd put some of that cream in, or So when I went in for the eye examination, as I said, they wanted to prove it again. He had a special machine, and I have to say, the new optician, he was lovely. He was absolutely outstanding. He went out of his way to make me feel comfortable. He went step by step, you know, because I'm scared, I stand up for myself. I protect myself now. But he understood, you know. He was probably in his 60s. Like myself, I was 63 now last, was it the 10th of August? I was 63 and I went away for a few days for that, and I enjoyed it with my friends, and I got to see my dog Roxy. So I had a good time, except for I got bitten in the country by some sort of an insect, which caused me bad bruising on my leg, but sure I dealt with it. But anyway, to get back to the story with the optician, he had a specialist camera now that can take a photo of the eyes without having those drops put in that make the pupil bigger, that blind you. Great news, fantastic news. But I was sitting there waiting for the answer to know, maybe they made a mistake in the other opticians, you know. But I said, well, what's your verdict? And he said, you do have the glaucoma and you do need drops to slow down uh, the blindness. But no, I've looked it up about the drops and what they can cause and the side effects, and I just said to him, no, no, thank you. He said that's totally okay. That's your life. If I was your son, I'd be saying, come on now, ma'am. You need to do this. But he respected me. He wrote a long letter to my doctor and he said my doctor will probably get on my case about the drops for the glaucoma. And I said to him, he can get on my case all he wants. The answer will still be no. They are my eyes and my body, and I have the right to say no. So, getting back to the bullying. When I was put down, you know, being pushed aside, um, not made feel that you were important. It was going on since I was very young, since the grandfather died. God rest his soul. It was going on since then between the two families, the aunts and the sisters. And I found it was always about competition. Then, like I said, that goes on into your children. You know, you've got to grow up with it, suffering with it. But what way do you turn out is up to you. I always studied. I studied everything. I was always a studier. A nerd. That's what I suppose you'd call me back in the day. A nerd. I look up things. No matter what it is, I look it up. But I don't let anyone bully me now. Out the door you go. Don't back answer me. You know, if you're my children, don't think you will walk all over me. Because I know there's many mothers out there today, and they have sons, and they have daughters, and they're coming in and taking over, you know? You want to live your life, sons or daughters. The door is there. Take it. Go out and start working, doing whatever needs be, but change your life for the better. Don't be, thinking your parents are supposed to take care of you. They're not. And I'm certainly not doing it. Why should I? Not with the life I've had. I stand up for myself. And I do like to treat myself. I do like shopping. I was a great shopper on Temu, but that's another story. But in saying that, life is full of drama, guys, you know, and don't don't think because we live in the world now of the internet that people have the right to dictate to you and tell you how you should live. To hell with them. You live whatever way you want. Something coming up my screen. You live whatever way you want, and never mind this high and mighty. The adverts they're putting on YouTube, the adverts they're putting on TV. You couldn't keep up with that. Where's the money supposed to come out of? I live on a disability allowance and I tip away at my own pace. You have the electric bills coming in, you have the rent coming in, you have the phone coming in. You've got to pay that. So you're certainly not going to be carrying anybody else, are you? No. I only met my godson there recently, and I love the way he talks to me. He has so much respect. He's in his 30s and he's doing well. And his mother and I were best friends many years ago when I stood for him. And I love meeting him because he will, well, Margaret, I was over at the garage going into the shop and he was in the car and telling me how he was doing, and I felt so proud of him and so happy for him. And I told him that, you know, I just love him. I really do. And I won't mention his name on here because that wouldn't be proper. He doesn't know I'm making this video. But I'm so proud of him. And I could feel it in my whole body, you know, the way he is doing his little job and he's getting his trucker license in a month's time. So, yeah, You live life the way you want. Certainly don't leave anyone walk all over you. They, you don't have to be, aggressive. But God damn it, I will stand up for myself. I will not let people walk all over me. Spare the rod and spoil the child. What'll that get you? I don't like violence. I never have liked violence, but I'm fiery. I've had to become that way because the world made me that way. My family made me that way. And now I won't take bullshit from anyone. Don't you take bullshit from anyone. You're entitled to live your life. You may be a grandmother, but don't think that your children, grown children, have the right to treat you badly or walk back into your life and look for something. They need to come back to your door, apologize for their behaviors if they behave badly, and then you can make up again. That's life, ups and downs. If you had a row, I'm just saying. But if your children are doing something that you don't want around you, keep them away from you, until they change their behaviour. And if they don't, continue to keep them away from you. But don't be so quick to go to the purse and give them what they want. Because now I don't bother with money. Everything is done by direct debit, by card. So, that's not happening. But don't be a fool and think that everyone is uppity, because they're not. It's an act. And remember that. Be kind to yourselves. Don't become a bitter person, but stand up for yourself in a way that is assertive. You don't have to have abusive language come out of your mouth. If there's somebody trying to argue with you and you're not getting anywhere with that person, walk away from them. Just keep walking. It's what I done. So till my next video, I love you all. Come join the channel, subscribe down below, and let's talk about real life and not the Instagram life, as I call it, real life, where you were brought up with nothing and you're leaving this world with nothing. So don't be killing yourself for what? Live your life. Till next time.